Hi everyone. Happy Tuesday. Let's see. Just waiting on our special guest today. Hello.
Hey,
How are you?
doing pretty good today. Still over
Good.
here.
Nice to see you.
You well?
We can start in like a minute.
Okay,
Just see if anyone else wants to join.
okay.
How's your Tuesday been?
That Tuesday's going pretty good. I'm on
Good.
course at the office,
Okay. Nice.
Mhm.
Nice, nice, nice.
Working hard, getting these people paid for these research studies.
Yes.
We're gonna have opportunities for you. You're a guy.
Let me make sure my laptop is muted. So that, let's
We got
see.
some viewers coming on. Thank y'all for joining us today.
Yeah,
We're going live with
thank you
Whitman-Walker.
so much. Yeah. All right. I guess we can get started now. I think we have a few viewers, so we can go ahead and get started. My name is Ibuku. I'm the social media program coordinator here at Whitman-Walker. And today I have a special guest with us. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Christian Morris. I'm over here in the research department at Whitman-Walker as well. You see him pronouns.
Yeah. So, yeah, I use she, her, hers pronouns. So I know you've seen my face on this platform for some time, and we try to talk about different topics. And today, we're actually going to be talking about research and why it's important, and just really just dive into it. So I do have some pre-written questions to ask, but if anyone watching actually has some questions to ask Christian yourself, go ahead and put it in the chat and he'll be able to answer it in real time. So we can go ahead and get right into it. My very first question for you, Christian, is can you just tell us about yourself and what your role is here at Whitman-Walker?
Yeah, so my background, I'm in my 20s. I'm from the South. I came up to DC for school. I'm interested in mental health and behavioral health, and particularly as that relates to community needs, folks who are usually left out of the dominant conversations around those things. So representing queer people, Black people, trans folks, women, and just folks who are at the margins. Yeah, so in the research department, I'm in the research department at Whitman Walker, and basically what I do is just intentionally engage community folks in the DC community, different research opportunities about health and wellness. Let folks know we are doing these studies, get people, paid if they're interested in participating, or just also sharing about the importance of community research. So I also reach out to patients of ours. A lot of people probably get phone calls from me, things like that. So I talk to people basically about research.
Awesome. Well, you sound very busy. So, can you just tell us a little bit about the current research projects that are currently recruiting right now here at Whitman Walker?
Absolutely. So we have a couple of different, like I would say, groups.
Hmm.
So we have a handful of behavioral research studies, which hope to capture, what are the things that people are thinking about, how are people doing and moving, and what are some of the motivating factors for some of the choices that we make. So those
Hmm.
health studies. So just to highlight some of those, we got one that's called Strengths and Stressors. That's for Black men living in the DMV, trying to understand what are the strengths and the stressors for Black men. Collecting that information, pretty basic survey, and to be eligible for that one, you really just have to be a Black man living in the DMV. So we
Okay.
have yeah. And so also behavioral stuff, we got a handful of studies for trans folks, both trans men and trans women, looking at different sort of health outcomes and things like that in the community, also compensated and also just trying to understand the community so that we can provide the best services that are possible. Also got some COVID-19 treatment trials coming up. Which are really exciting, especially like some oral medication studies, because right now nothing like that is currently available. If you have COVID, you're basically told out. Well, now there's actually there are some treatments that are basically IV, but we're hoping to get, thank you for posting that link. We're hoping to develop some oral medications for COVID-19. So we're excited to those trials coming down the pipeline. And we even have some HIV cure trials coming down the pipeline eventually. So we definitely would also need folks who are, some motivated research people who are interested in participating in those studies as they come out in the weeks and months to come. Hmm.
Wow. So that's a
And
different
yeah, and that's just the
research
top of the
study.
iceberg for women, for
Yeah.
everybody.
It's very inclusive of like every. So I really love that. So what is the importance of research in HIV prevention or treatment?
Simple answers, just progress. We've gotten this far. I did say that in the comments. We do have HIV cure trials coming down the way, pre-cure trials. So they're experimental, but those things are in the works. Ibu, I'm sorry. Your question was.
Like what is like why is it important for us to, care about research? What's the importance of research in HIV prevention and treatment?
Yeah, progress. So we have gotten this far through research and medical advancements. So, like the status of undetectable, we were able to do that through clinical trials. As far as actually figuring out what medications can suppress people's viral loads and make them undetectable, as well as PrEP came through research, and PrEP is major in sort of preventing the spread of HIV. So it's only through research that we have made it this far. Um, yeah, and there's still more to go. And I also just want to say community representation research is important, just understanding really how it moves and things like that. So, yeah, it's not just cut and dry medical science. We also have to understand like actual people, what we're doing, how we're having sex, what we're thinking about, and the things that really affect us. So that's important as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So could you talk a bit more about the type of research that's done at Whitman-Walker, and is it done ethically? I know that's a common question that people might have. So could you just talk a little bit about that?
Definitely. Can you say one more time? You said again the way you said it.
So is healthcare research being done ethically at Whitman-Walker? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's, an important question, especially in the time of COVID-19, right? It's coming up for everybody. But yes, it's being
Hmm.
done. I would like to say that all of our studies are just trying to capture the human experience, basically what's already happening. So we're not trying to do anything to anybody, but we're trying to figure out what's going on, right? Because that's how HIV is currently moving. It's moving through people. So we're trying to understand exactly what's happening so that we can prevent it, control it, and eventually end the epidemic. I also want to be clear that the goal for HIV research as an industry is to end HIV. So yeah, so we appreciate people taking the time to participate and lend their lives to us in participating in research. We hope to compensate them fairly. We actually just got a big push to increase our compensation rates for a lot of our studies because we do see it as a way to sort of give to science. Like we're asking people to come in and share their lives and their stories with us. So people should be compensated fairly for that. And that's actually something that we're working on right now. So we've just doubled our incentives on a handful of studies, particularly for like trans folks. So if you identify as
Yeah.
trans and interested in research, hit me up.
Yes. We should definitely put the link to like the research studies in the chat. Maybe Paul can do that for us. Or if you have the link, like you had mentioned, you could also put it in the chat and I can pin it. Um, so another question I have for you is, what recruitment challenges is the research department currently facing due to recruitment? So, and also, how are you addressing those challenges?
So we are facing some recruitment challenges. I think with COVID,
Mm-hmm.
people are out and about just less than they are. So people, I think, are less likely, not even only out of fear, although that's a deterrent factor as well, but also people are not used to just being out and about as much, right? So where it used to be not that convenient to, oh, I'll be in the city anyway, I'll stop by for my little research visit for an hour. But now people are so used to being in their home so much, it's like you gotta extra incentivize folks actually coming out and doing something in person, right? We're not doing a lot of physical gathering and things like that. So I think that's a challenge. And I also think that it seems like social media would be the obvious next steps for recruitment, but I think people are also experiencing burnout for social media and like online things as well, right? People are maybe some are getting tired of Zoom calls and tired of, you know, different social media outreach as well. So I feel like connecting to people right now is really hard. I mean, in general, right? But let alone in research.
Yeah.
And I think
Um,
that's that. If I could add one more thing, I think it's hard when people don't see exactly fit them immediately. But you know, I also try my role, and I see part of my job is to explain that this benefits people who are like us, and that's important as well. So other people who are Black, other people who are queer, trans, you know, things like that.
yeah. That ties into my next question. So, how does the research department capture diversity in its studies? Because, yeah, definitely people would be more inclined to participate if they know that, you know, this is actually benefiting people like them. So, how do you guys capture diversity in the studies?
Definitely. I think Whitman-Walker is doing a great job about it. So again, we are a HIV prevention and treatment clinic, but what I appreciate is we're getting into all the nuances and intersections. So we have research studies that are for Black women living with HIV, for Black folks who are over the age of 60 living with HIV, for young people, for people who are negative, for people who are curious about PrEP, for you know, non-binary. Like we have just a range of research projects, honestly, that try and focus on individual populations, so that we can understand
Mm-hmm.
individual human experiences within our community and then develop sort of prevention and treatment models that work for individual communities. So it's more than just like, oh, how do we, you know, it's not more than a goal. It's like the only way to actually end the epidemic, not the pandemic, but maybe that too. The only way to end the
Yeah.
HIV is to actually understand people specifically, right? We can't generalize. We can't think that something that works for this community is going to work for this community. So yeah, we're just pushing the edge, honestly. Hmm.
Yeah, I think that was really good to hear because yeah, it wouldn't make sense to try to end an epidemic by only focusing on like one certain demographic because then you would actually never really end it because the other people would be left behind. So another question I have, what measures are taken to ensure privacy while participating in these studies? Which I think is like important because, you know, there's a lot of mistrust in research and just people might be worried about what are you doing with my information? So what measures does the department take to ensure privacy?
For sure, I get that question all the time when I recruit folks, especially I feel like when I recruit for our studies dealing with seniors, they're like, "Oh, I'm private about this information. You know, how do I know that it's going to be kept private?"
Mm-hmm.
Actually a lot of measures in which privacy is secured. One thing I wanted to say that for a lot of research, we actually don't want to keep the information that we gather as identified. So there's for a lot of, unless it's absolutely necessary, what we try to do is separate the information that we're gathering from the actual participant
Okay.
information because it doesn't really matter someone's name or address. What matters in the data that we want is about their human experience, their medical experiences, the medical dynamics that they face. So there's
Mm-hmm.
really not a goal, you know, of ours to really connect that information. So you know, I just like to share that with people. And then other than that, I mean, the information that's collected is only accessed by people who are in the field, by researchers, by the sponsors and the study funders. No information is ever made public in under any circumstances. And again, that process of de-identifying data, which is what we say in the field, is really serious, right? So, okay, you want to participate? Great. This will be your study ID number that you will use for the duration of the study. You know, so we just take a lot of measures for sure.
Okay. That's really good to hear. So another question, what is the importance of community input on research?
This is something I'm really passionate about. Like, I really think that research should be by us and for us. So I
Mm-hmm.
want research to answer questions that people actually want to know. Like, I want to know what you want to know about your own community, what I want to know about my own community, so that information, so we can basically address the issues that are relevant to us, right? Um, so community input cannot be understated. I don't think it should just be people in the ivory tower who come up with these theories and these hypotheses that they want to test with our communities. I really think that we have to develop community voices, be like, actually, this is something that I want to understand. I want to know how this works. I want to know why this is the way this is. And I think once we can sort of start answering those questions, we can really push things forward.
Yeah. Awesome. And my final question for you, for the people watching, what ways can people get involved with research? They're interested, how can they get started?
Yes, I wish I had the link. I can't get it from my computer to the Instagram link, but I just want to say go to research at Whitman-Walker Institute, and there is a form there
Mhm.
where you can enter like your basic email and phone number, and then I can actually follow up with you to see what type of studies you might be a good fit for. So yeah, all of our studies are listed on the website. You can sort of poke around, see if anything jumps out at you. But otherwise, you can give, me a call. I wish I could put a virtual business card on the phone. Thank you so much. That is the list of
Yeah,
our,
there's the link. I'll pin it. There you go.
and then from there, yeah, you can share your information and I can follow up for different studies. Again, we look at it as a way to give back to science and also make a little extra money. So,
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Christian. Is there anything else you wanted to share today before we get off the live?
um, I think that's it for now. Hopefully, this is the beginning of the conversation. I would love to hop back on and maybe do a deep dive into particular studies, right? So we can highlight our trans studies and really go in depth those look like, or our Black men's health studies, or our women and HIV studies. So maybe you and I can talk offline about doing something like that. But thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. That would be great. So yes, I'll definitely connect with you because that would be important for people to hear. And before I leave, I just want to remind everyone that you can receive your COVID-19 vaccine or booster here at Whitman-Walker. Just call us at 202-207-2480. And if you're not in the DMV or you're not able to get over to our facility, you can also go on vaccines.gov to find the nearest place you can get your COVID-19 vaccine or booster. So we just urge everyone to continue staying safe, and we'll see you another time. And thank you again, Christian, for coming on. This is awesome, and I'll connect with you later. And have a good rest.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.